All right, so let's consider single windward mark to be left to starboard. And let's begin when the boats are coming in on port tack together. First of all, we know that when either boat gets to the zone, first boat in turns on Rule 18, asks the boats, are the boats overlapped? If the answer is yes, then the inside boat gets the mark. She's entitled to sail her proper course. We also know that she doesn't have to sail her proper course. No rule ever requires a boat to sail her proper course. The leeward boat's proper course is clearly to do something like that. But because the leeward boat has the right of way, she doesn't need the protection of mark room, and she can luff and stop the race. Just remember, once she luffs off her proper course, she loses the protection of Rule 21, and therefore Rule 16 requires her to give yellow room to keep clear. Same situation. Both boats are in. The lead boat starts to bear off around the mark, and the yellow boat shows going in here. Yellow's got to give blue, the boat astern's got to give the boat ahead, room to sail her proper course, which can include a jibe, as long as the next leg is a run. So her proper course is either to do that or to do that. As long as blue remains overlapped with the mark, she retains the option of jibing, and she's protected if she breaks the rule. Once she sails past the mark and is no longer overlapped with the mark, then if she jibes, she has to follow the rules about jibing and other rules. This is covered in one of the new test rule calls, test rule call number 1, which you'll find on the test rules site in the World Sailing Briefing document. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Same mark, except the boats are now under the ley line. They're under the port ley line. Right now, blue can't get around that mark without tacking. When the boats get to the zone, doesn't matter who gets there first, 18 turns on and asks, are the boats overlapped? And clearly the answer is yes. So then it asks, who's the inside boat? Well, the inside boat is the leeward boat, because when these boats go around the mark to starboard, she'll be on the inside. So the leeward boat is the inside boat, and the windward boat is the outside boat. The moment Rule 18 turns on, the leeward boat, the inside boat's entitled to sail her proper course, which will include 2 tacks. And notice, she may not even be in the zone yet. As long as one boat goes in, it turns 18 on. Once 18 is on, at that moment, this boat is entitled to 2 tacks, which she can take where she wants. If while she's luffing, yellow can't keep clear, the blue boat has broken Rule 16, but is exonerated because she's sailing her proper course. If while she's in the act of tacking, she fouls and breaks 13, she's exonerated because she's sailing her proper course. If when she comes out and she's sailing her proper course and the boat's hit, she breaks 11, but she's exonerated. And remember, when a boat tacks, especially a keel boat, it'll commonly come out below close hauled as part of its proper course tack. In all these situations, yellow's going to get a penalty. Also note, blue doesn't have to give yellow any warning that she's about to tack. The outside boat's expected to know the rules and expected to give the room. I think the tactic for the outside boat here is the moment she knows that the boats are going to get to the zone in this position, I think this boat should just tack. Then we know that this boat's going to tack where it does. And as we said in an earlier section, this boat then should try to tack back maybe a length or so over the ley line. And she's protected by 18.3 because now blue has to come in and tack here. Now let's go back to this situation where they are below the ley line. It happens often. The boats enter the zone here. And for some reason, the blue boat doesn't tack. Maybe because she doesn't want to cause a collision. Because Rule 14 always applies. And you can be right under the racing rules, but cause damage, liable to lose points and money. All the way in here, blue is the inside boat entitled to tack as per proper course. If yellow pins the boats past the starboard ley line, clearly blue's proper course had to be at least to tack on the ley line. So clearly yellow has denied blue her chances of the proper course. But notice 18.3 says when an inside overlap right-of-way boat must change tacks in order to sail her proper course, she can't go farther from the mark than needed to sail that course. So right here, blue is breaking 18.3. But also notice, while she's breaking it, she's not affecting this boat's course. Therefore, she doesn't get penalized under the 2016 version. Here's where the umpires are going to have to be on their game in a way that you never had to be before. And the sailors also. It's for situations like we're about to describe here. Boats are sailing along. Blue can tack. We'll call this boat A ahead, and this boat B. Blue can tack at any time without risk of fouling. This happens. Under the current rules, this boat is super strong. Would think nothing of it, would tack, and would round first. But now, under the test rules, we have a situation. Rule 18 turns on when the first boat enters the zone. Yellow has entered the zone. 18 turns on. It asks, are the boats overlapped? The answer is no. Therefore, the first boat in gets the mark. If blue were to tack here not knowing that and cause a kerfluffle, such that yellow was unable to sail the proper course, that's penalty on blue. Possibly a red or a double for going on the inside here. Obviously, the tactic for blue, if you're in a situation where you think it's going to be this boat that's going to touch the zone first, is to go high, sail in high mode, and make sure that when this boat B enters the zone, make sure the boats are clearly overlapped. Now the boats are overlapped, now A gets the zone. And she gets the mark, and she can tack whenever she wants. And if she tacks into a situation where yellow can't keep clear, tough luck on yellow. Yellow is required to give her mark room, and she's exonerated if she breaks Rule 15 or other rules. Which leads to another interesting tactic. Very commonly, a boat on starboard is coming in below the starboard ley line. The drama under the current rules is if the yellow boat ducks and then tacks up on the hip here, under the current rules, this boat blue is in a big trouble here because she won't be able to tack back and keep clear. So obviously, as the boats are coming along here, it's not in blue's interest to let yellow duck. Under the test rules, it's even more not in her interest. I'm just going to move the mark up just a little bit because we're getting, this action is happening down low here. Running out of board. Just move the mark up a little bit as we can do. All right. So just pointing out a tactical situation here where blue is below the starboard ley line here, and blue has to make a choice. If she lets yellow duck her, blue can count on the fact that when yellow tacks, blue will be clear ahead and she'll reach the zone first, in which case she's safe. But if she's worried about that, then I think the tactic for blue when yellow bears off is blue tacks to leeward of yellow. Assuming yellow can't come in and get an overlap, and yellow goes up in here, it now doesn't really matter if blue can get to the zone. If yellow can get to the zone, all blue has to do is make sure the boats are overlapped when she does it. So even though yellow would be pinning blue under the current rules, at this point now, blue gets the tack and gets the mark. The last subtle tactical thing I'll mention here, there's a lot of times in the racing where the leeward boat, we'll call him L here, the leeward boat is leading, but knows that when they tack, it's going to be a close race. So the question is, when should this boat tack? Under the current rules, it's an easy answer. You go all the way to the ley line and tack. The other boat will lay up underneath you, and off you go. Under the test rules, the leeward boat can actually tack sooner. Once she passes the ley line to the zone, maybe go another length or so and tack, she's safe here. Because if the yellow boat were to duck her here, there's a good chance that when yellow tacks, blue will reach the zone clear ahead. And if yellow lays up underneath her, which she should probably do, by tacking sooner here, blue's giving herself a little more time here to tack, establish flow, get the pole on, and have a better set. All right. Now, let's go coming in on starboard. One thing that commonly happens when the boats are coming in on starboard overlap is the leeward boat's trying to go high and slow and stop the race before they get to the zone. Very common. Under the test rules, if the boats do enter the zone, let's say it's the leeward boat first, under the test rules, this boat now on the inside is entitled to sail her proper course. Whereas under the current rules, she's only entitled seaman-like space. When a boat's been luffing slow, especially a bigger keel boat, her proper course is always to put the bow below close haul to build speed. So the umpires need to watch that as soon as yellow hits the zone, in my opinion, blue's going to be able to bear off to a reasonable amount below close hauled to build speed. And if there's contact here, it's possible the umpires will decide that yellow has not given blue room to sail her proper course. So yellow's going to have to be careful of that. We've already talked about the situation in a different section where the boats are at the mark. We know that the blue boat can tack around the mark but can't tack faster than normal proper course. And we also know that if the blue boat tacks here and the yellow boat tries to go inside, that blue is entitled to sail her proper course, and yellow has to give her room to do that. So under the current rules, if yellow goes in there and blue can give room, yellow is entitled to room. Under the test rules, she's not. This gives me a chance to go back to one thing on the port tack approach that I meant to say. Very important. We talked about the situation where the boats came in on port. And we said that the leeward boat, once in the zone, can tack with no warning. But here's where the second sentence in the definition of mark room comes in. The second sentence was put in because the rule writers were really concerned that the leeward boat would try to tack and whack the windward boat. So they wrote this in the definition, which I call belts and suspenders, but this is their concern right here. They say, if room includes a change of tack, such tack shall be done no quicker than a tack to sail her proper course. That's why that language is in there, to shout out to the blue boat here, yes, you can tack, but you better do the kind of tack you would do to finish quickly if that boat wasn't there. All right, more game changes. Let's have the boats coming in here, and they are not overlapped. When B, we'll call this boat B here, when she reaches the zone, in fact, let's call her A for makes more sense. When she reaches the zone, turns 18 on, asks the question, are the boats overlapped? Clearly the answer is no. At this point, A is entitled to sail her proper course to and around the mark, which will include right here tacking onto port. Under the current rules, this would be suicide for this boat. But under the test rules, this is allowed. And the starboard tacker is expected to know that and bear off. My guess is they'll throw a flag, and the umpires will have to decide whether yellow is sailing her proper course or not. Remember, even if yellow's proper course wants to tack here, as long as she stays in the zone, she's entitled to mark room. If she tacks onto port wide, but now is sailing her proper course, she's protected. So that's a big change. The boats can come in and tack onto port and get to the mark. You could envision a similar situation we've talked about in other ways coming up. Again, umpires are going to have to be right on top of this. Situation where the boats are coming in on starboard. And that happens. Let's just here. Trying to overlap. Yeah. And that happens. Okay. So right now, this would enter the zone and this boat gets the mark. Again, if it was like that and they were not overlapped, then this would enter the zone first and gets the mark. So umpires are going to have to be right on top of a very subtle situation of knowing A, when did the first boat reach the zone, and B, at that moment, were the boats overlapped or not. As we talked about, if they're not sure, then I think they can't apply Rule 18, and therefore the last thing they're certain is that the regular rules apply and they should apply them as normal. Another situation the umpire is going to have to watch out for is a situation where the boats are on the starboard ley line, and right here, at this point, yellow bears off and reaches to that point there. She bears way off and reaches there. You can see why she did that. Now she has reached the zone. She's clearly, there's no overlap. Now she can come on the wind, and unlike the current rules, now she can tack onto port and go to the mark. So there's going to be more incentive for that lure boat to bear away, and the umpires are going to have to be right on it, zone overlap or zone not overlap. This is where the wing boat's going to be extremely important. All right, final scenarios here. This was a big source of discussion last year in the rules. I just want to make sure we're all clear on it here. All right, boats come into the zone. You all know the drill right now. Clearly, the inside boat here, we'll call them WI and LO, random letters. WI is entitled to mark room, but she breaks no rule if she doesn't take it. She decides to continue pinning the yellow boat. At this point, she is not sailing within the mark room she's entitled, so she loses the protection of Rule 21. She's clearly the windward boat, and her obligation is to keep clear of the leeward boat. However, she breaks no rule by not tacking. People were asking before, well, what about 18.3? Well, 18.3 applies to an inside, overlapped, right-of-way boat. So this boat is not a right-of-way boat, therefore 18.3 does not apply to her. So she can go as far as she wants, as long as she keeps clear. Once she gets up in here, having not left the zone, if yellow tacks and blue tacks, because blue never left the zone, her entitlement to mark room continues. Because she never left the zone, and she clearly hasn't rounded the mark. At this point, she's entitled to sail her proper course. So if yellow tries to go in there, she can properly shut the door as long as her proper course. That's a major change from the last rules. And if those boats happen to carry this outside the zone, and notice I'm having both boats go outside the zone to keep it simple, then the blue boat's entitlement to mark room now has turned off. And if the boats turn and come back into the zone, now it'll be judged all over again. Blue is first in, boats are overlapped, yellow will get mark room. This setup is going to happen quite a lot, I predict. The one we just talked about. Not necessarily going outside the zone. But imagine our scenario where both boats are below the ley line. Below the port ley line. Clearly yellow knows that blue's entitled to tack. Yellow tacks, blue tacks, and here they are. And yellow's going to be hollering that blue needs to sail her proper course. And you know that she doesn't, because she's not a right-of-way boat. It's going to happen when blue has tacked short of the starboard ley line, and yellow has laid up underneath her. Same situation. Here they are. You know now that blue has to keep clear, but breaks no rule by carrying on. And the last thing I'm going to show you is a little technical situation in this situation. Right now, blue is in control of the race. And blue does not need to tack in order to sail her proper course. However, if yellow luffs and sails past head to wind, clearly she's tacking and she needs to keep clear of blue, but at that moment, blue just became an inside, overlapped, right-of-way boat. And by going past head to wind, yellow has turned 18.3 on, and at that point, the umpires are going to expect blue to tack and at least change tacks and get on. If blue continues here to try and get a penalty on yellow, blue is in fact breaking 18.3 and may earn herself a red flag.